My personal definition of retirement is financial freedom, not necessarily retirement from doing work that fulfills you and that you're passionate about. I wanted to work on my terms and work with the gifts that I believe that I have and being able to expound on those gifts and try to provide value to others where best I can. My name is Nathanael Farrelly. I am 29 years old. I live in Pensacola, Florida, and retired at 28 years old. In March of 2020, I started my company, Revitalize Specialty Infusion, and we partnered with specialty pharmacies and hospital organizations to provide nurses to the patients' homes. Home infusion therapy is, instead of a patient going to a hospital or an infusion clinic or a doctor's office for their chronic infusion therapy, we can essentially send the nurse directly to the patient's home. We have several million in cash, and that is accruing at 4.75%. And whatever we don't use in that month, we either let that continue accruing interest, compounding interest, or reinvest in other avenues that may produce greater returns with the least amount of risk possible. Our biggest expense would be the property tax, the homeowner's insurance, and flood insurance that we have. In addition to that, our next biggest expense would be a private school tuition for our kids. I met my wife when she was 14. I was 15, and I knew she was the one. I remember taking her dad out to Applebee's in Westerly, Rhode Island, and seriously asking for a hand in marriage when she was only 16. And I was fully convinced that he would let us. And of course, his answer was no, but I was dedicated to prove to him that I would be able to support his daughter. I was health conscious and I had a passion for helping people. My end goal was to have my own practice as a family nurse practitioner. After 10th grade, instead of spending another 2 years to complete high school, I realized that I could shift that energy into studying for my GED, working towards my nursing degree at a community college in Rhode Island. My first job as a registered nurse was in the ICU step down, and I only had 1 week of training and orientation. I remember waking up every morning sick to my stomach, dreading to going to work every day. That start of not having the appropriate training, I believe it opened up a lot of anxiety and stress. I ran into a nurse that was actually doing infusion therapy. Wasn't really quite sure what that exactly was at that time, but I do remember her saying independent contractor, and me as an entrepreneur and having a brief understanding of that resonated really well with me. I realized that there was a huge need for nurses in this space. My goal and mission was really to replicate what I experienced going from a very stressful environment to now something that I look forward to seeing my patient. So I started the business with less than $1,000. It was just a couple weeks later, that's when COVID was announced. While I believe infusion therapy is certainly a growing industry, I do believe it was just being in the right place, the right time. Our value proposition was not only the compassionate care that we strive to provide to the patients, but we also provided a cost-effective method for those pharmacies and hospital organizations. So I remember starting out seeing patients myself, calling nurses, training them myself, and I soon realized that if I was to continue doing that, I would not be able to fully fulfill that mission I had set in place to help as many patients and as many nurses as possible. Our goal was to be a community-based business. By growing a concentrated team of nurses within just a few states, that really allowed us to be able to provide timely care to the patients in need at that time. A lot of the other competitors, they would charge per hour for nurse drive time, and they would send a nurse 2-3 hours one way just to see a patient, then pass that burden on to the pharmacy. Essentially, instead of requiring a nurse to drive somewhere far, we would give them the freedom and opportunity to really choose when they want to work. When we went into our first house, I would say many would have just turned back around and shut the door because it was definitely a fixer-upper. Quickly, through nursing school, that's when I started taking down walls and, putting the house back together. And of course, when COVID came, the market for housing drastically increased. So the house that we bought for $140,000, we ended up selling that in September of 2020 for $310,000, and we walked away with $175,000 cash. That allowed me to use that as the working capital to really grow the business. I would get daily and weekly calls from private equity wanting to acquire my company for $1 million, a couple million. And it wasn't until where really the right buyer came, and I knew that the nurses would be paid and rewarded more than what they were at that time from a corporation coming in, as well as the patients, really being able to fulfill that mission and grow that vision and mission at a much larger scale and much faster. It wasn't until September of 2024, I fully resigned from that company. And I remember that week, my wife surprised me that we were expecting our fourth. A great surprise starting my so-called early retirement. So this is definitely a family sabbatical, and I hope that this lasts indefinitely. I look forward to my kids coming home to school every single day. We like to play Mario Kart, just being able to go in our backyard. We have a pool. It's really amazing living on the bay, just being able to see the dolphins come up to your dock and fish when you feel like it. You can take the boat out. The most important part of financial freedom is being able to give freely. So I believe money I'm just managing, it's not necessarily mine. And that's where I really shifted my investment strategies to other small businesses, angel investments, and now even praying about possibly starting another company at some point in the future. I realized that 8 figures, it can either last generationally or it can disappear really fast through bad investments and lifestyle creep for sure. I do foresee always having the freedom to take a day off and spend with family and just really trying to reflect on this time that I have and be as present and available for my family as possible. And it's really great getting to see them grow.